Imagine a small coastal country. Let us call it Meridian. Meridian's largest trading partner makes a demand. Accepting it would keep goods moving, protect jobs, and calm the markets. Refusing it would raise prices almost immediately. Meridian refuses. Commentators call the decision emotional, reckless, even irrational. But by the end of this video, you will be able to explain how a move can be costly, dangerous, and still make strategic sense. We love comparing geopolitics to chess. It makes the world feel legible. There are two sides. Every piece is visible. Everyone follows the same rules. Victory means the same thing to both players. Real politics rarely gives us that luxury. A government is not a single mind. It answers to citizens, factions, institutions, donors, soldiers, industries, and allies. Some players need to win the next election. Some need to survive the next week. Others can afford to wait 20 years. Even the word win becomes unstable. One actor may want territory, another may want deterrence, a third may simply want to remain indispensable to both sides. If we score all three by territory alone, two of their games disappear before the analysis begins. They may occupy the same map without playing the same game. Meridian's refusal looks foolish if trade is the only scoreboard. It is not. There are two other boards hidden underneath it, and when we reveal them, the decision will change shape without becoming automatically good, moral, or successful. Game theory begins with a simple idea. Your outcome depends not only on what you choose, but on what other actors choose in response. That does not mean everyone is perfectly rational. People miscalculate. Governments receive bad information. Leaders protect their egos. Institutions pursue their own interests. Game theory is useful because it forces us to ask better questions. Who are the players? What can they do? What do they value? And how does each choice change everybody else's options? Notice what is missing from that list. The claim that leaders are robots. An incentive does not control a person. It changes the cost of one choice relative to another. Pride, fear, and ideology still matter, but they operate inside a structure of consequences. Imagine two suspects questioned in separate rooms. Each can stay silent or betray the other. If both stay silent, both receive 1 year. If one betrays while the other stays silent, the betrayer walks free, and the silent prisoner receives 3 years. If both betray, both receive 2 years. Now look from either prisoner's position. If the other stays silent, betrayal changes your sentence from 1 year to 0. Betrayal looks better. If the other betrays you, betraying them changes your sentence from 3 years to 2. Again, betrayal looks better, so betrayal is the safer individual choice no matter what the other person does. But when both follow that logic, both receive 2 years. Cooperation would have given them only 1. Individually sensible choices produce a collectively worse result. Why does the worse outcome feel so compelling? Because losses loom larger than gains. Psychologists call this loss aversion. Cooperation offers a possible gain. Both serve only 1 year, but it exposes each prisoner to the frightening possibility of trusting and receiving 3. The possible gain from trust saves 1 year. The possible loss from misplaced trust adds 2. The mind does not weigh them evenly. Strategic incentives point toward betrayal, while loss aversion makes the danger of trusting feel larger still. Now place the dilemma inside our 3-board model. On the headline board, governments face the visible choice: cooperate or defect, restrain weapons or expand them, lower tariffs or retaliate. But on the home board, leaders are judged by voters, parties, industries, generals, and rivals. Compromise can be portrayed as weakness, and the leader personally bears the political loss if trust fails. On the system board, allies measure credibility, rivals measure resolve, and markets respond to uncertainty. The real choice is therefore cooperation or defection across 3 scoreboards, for different audiences with different definitions of loss. The prisoner's dilemma identifies the strategic trap. Loss aversion explains why the feared downside dominates attention. The 3-board test shows where those fears and incentives are generated. Here is the takeaway. When cooperation fails, first map the payoffs. Second, find the feared asymmetric loss. Third, identify the board on which that loss matters. Fourth, ask what could reduce the risk of trust. Verification, gradual steps, guarantees, shared penalties, or repeated interaction. Do not ask only why neither side will cooperate. Ask, what laws does each side fear, on which board, and what mechanism could reduce that risk? The trap explains why escalation happens. The test helps us look for a way out. The first board is the one visible in the news. Call it the headline game. This is where we see tariffs, borders, military movements, diplomatic visits, sanctions, and public agreements. It is real. It matters, but because it is visible, we often mistake it for the entire game. On Meridian's headline board, refusing the demand is a loss. Trade slows. Prices rise. The larger partner can absorb the disruption more easily. News coverage naturally concentrates here because this board produces the cleanest pictures and numbers. Ships waiting, markets falling, officials arguing behind podiums. Visibility makes the loss measurable. It does not make the other payoffs unreal. If we stop here, irrational seems like a reasonable verdict. Now reveal the second board, the home game. Governments do not only bargain with foreign capitals, they bargain with the people and institutions whose support lets them govern. Meridian's cabinet is fragile. Its opposition has spent months claiming that the country is becoming a client state. Accepting the demand might preserve trade while destroying the coalition that keeps the government in office. Refusal imposes an economic cost. It also proves to domestic audiences that the government is willing to resist pressure. A loss abroad can therefore become a gain at home, not because the pain is imaginary, but because political survival has its own payoff. Different domestic actors may still score that move differently. Exporters can lose income while the opposition loses its strongest argument. The cabinet can become safer while households become poorer. The country won is usually too crude a sentence for the home game. Beneath both sits the system game. No state acts in empty space. Its choices affect alliances, credit, energy, technology, supply chains, and the expectations of other powers. Meridian has been asking a distant ally to invest in a new port and guarantee its shipping routes. That ally has hesitated. It is unsure whether Meridian will hold its position when pressure arrives. The refusal is therefore also a signal. Meridian is paying a visible price to demonstrate that its alignment is costly to reverse. If the signal works, the distant ally may now invest. If it fails, Meridian has simply made itself poorer. Signals become credible when they are costly enough that an unconvinced actor would hesitate to send them. But cost alone proves nothing. The ally must believe that the sacrifice reveals something durable rather than a temporary burst of defiance. Strategy is not magic. A rational gamble can still lose. We can now see all three boards. On the headline game, Meridian loses trade. On the home game, its coalition gains credibility. On the system game, it may unlock an alliance that changes its future options. The decision did not become wise just because we found more incentives. We merely replaced a shallow judgment with a testable explanation. That distinction matters. Understanding why a move can be rational is not the same as endorsing it. Nor does the label rational settle which actors' payoff counts. A policy can protect a governing coalition while damaging the public it governs. The three-board test reveals that conflict. It does not excuse it. This is the three-board test. First, what happened in the visible contest? Second, which domestic audience or institution gained or lost? Third, what changed in the wider system of allies, dependencies, and future choices? These are not three separate worlds. A move on one board changes the payoffs on the others. That is what makes the game nested, and why reading only the headline produces so many confident mistakes. The test is deliberately simple. It is a viewing instrument, not a complete theory of international relations. Its job is to prevent premature closure, to make us look for the game's first explanation left out. The test protects us from three common errors. The first is choosing the wrong player. Meridian did not decide anything. Particular leaders and institutions did. The second is assuming everyone wants the same prize. Economic growth, political survival, and strategic autonomy are not interchangeable rewards. The third is confusing explanation with omniscience. We can identify a plausible incentive without pretending to know what happened inside a closed meeting. There is a fourth temptation hiding behind all three: treating the state as a person. States do not feel humiliation or fear. People do, and institutions translate those feelings into choices. Name the people and mechanisms or keep the claim modest. So the next time a geopolitical decision looks absurd, resist the instant diagnosis? Draw 3 boxes. In the first, write what visibly changed. In the second, list the domestic actors who gained time, status, unity, or survival. In the third, list the alliances and dependencies whose value changed. Do not force every box to contain a victory. Sometimes, the test reveals 3 losses, and a government that simply chose the least dangerous one available. Sometimes it reveals that the supposedly strategic move really was a mistake. Then ask what evidence would prove your explanation wrong. That final question is essential. Without it, game theory becomes a machine for inventing clever stories after the fact. With it, the model becomes a disciplined way to compare competing explanations. Was Meridian's refusal rational? We cannot answer from the trade loss alone. We would need evidence. Did the coalition actually stabilize? Did the distant ally invest? Were those gains worth the economic damage? Could Meridian have achieved them at a lower cost? The 3-board test does not hand us a verdict. It tells us what evidence a serious verdict requires. That is the difference between seeing strategy everywhere and learning how to examine strategy. If the coalition collapses anyway, the home game explanation weakens. If the ally never invests, the system game payoff remains speculation. A model earns trust not by explaining every outcome, but by showing us where it can fail. At Medha Journal, this is the lens behind the 2-game trap, a cockroach's gambit and the garrison trap. The visible conflict is rarely the only game shaping the move. In the next episode, we will examine a different puzzle. How a weaker player can force a stronger one to keep paying. The headline tells you what happened. The game beneath the game tells you what to investigate next.